recipe calls for phyllo pastry. Phyllo is my absolute favourite pastry. It's very, very thin, so you have to handle it really carefully. Just have a look at that. You can almost see your hand through it. And because it dries out so quickly, it needs to be brushed with loads of butter. I like to use bristle brushes because you can get so much more butter on it. The silicone brushes, you just can't get the same amount of butter on. All this butter is going to stop it from drying out whilst I prepare it and from burning when it goes in the oven. And it's the only naughty bit of the whole recipe. So we need a really sharp knife to cut the phyllo pastry. And I am cutting it into squares, 4 like that, large enough to fit inside the muffin tin. Cut it all the way across. And then take one leaf and put it on the board. Take another one and put it slightly offset, so you've got like a star. The reason why you layer phyllo pastry is because it's so flimsy that it needs lots of layers to make it sturdy. I'm also going to brush the tin because sometimes it sticks and it's very difficult to get them out. So brush all around and then just layer it over the top of the tin. Gently ease it down, really carefully, because you don't want to put your finger in it, but if you do, it's no big deal. And to help you push it right down into the corners, just take an offcut, roll it into a little ball, and then just push it right down like that. There. Right, now I'm going to get on with the rest. Beautiful. OK, pop them in the oven, 5 minutes, 180 degrees, and they will crisp up perfectly. Once these look crisp and golden brown, take them from the oven and just leave them to cool completely in the tin. Whilst they're cooling, I'm going to make my filling. So 500 grams of yoghurt. This is low fat, but you can use no fat. I like to flavour the yoghurt with vanilla. It's best to use vanilla pods and not vanilla extract. Then some honey, a big squidge. Now give it a good mix. Pile it high with as much yoghurt as you like, because it's a skinny mix after all. Now for the fruit. I like to use different types of fruit to top the tarts. You can use exotic fruits or just basic fruits. I'm going to start off with these black grapes, always seedless. And then these fabulous dragon fruit. They're from Thailand, but you can get them from the supermarket. You just cut them in half, and inside they have this fantastic white, almost poppy seed texture. And then you get a spoon and just scoop it all the way around. I love that pink colour, look at that. Scoop it out, and then just cut it. I'll put those in there. And figs, oh, love figs. Simple, wrapped in Parma ham. But for the tart, they really give some nice height. Beautiful red currants, just to finish it off. So nice and shiny. How beautiful does that look? Oh, here's a chefy tip. Bowl, a couple of dollops of jam, raspberry, and always seedless. Then get some hot water and add a drizzle, just enough to loosen the jam up a bit. OK, mix it well together. Oh, look, a beautiful, gorgeous, skinny tart in under an hour. When I was at college, we made this really interesting wartime bread. And I've just been doing some further research on it now. And I even bought a book off the internet about it. And the fascinating thing about it is it has a really quick technique to make it. Most people don't make bread at home because they just think, oh, bread, way too much faff. But this bread, the Doris Grant loaf, has a really good shortcut because it doesn't need to be kneaded. I'm going to start with my wholemeal bread flour, and I need 225 grams. Now, wholemeal flour is really good because it has this grain that gets left in the sieve, and this grain can be used to sprinkle over the bread when it bakes. Makes it look really pretty. Right, and I don't bother sieving my strong white bread flour. We need 225 grams of that. So you might be thinking, well, why is she using white and wholemeal flour? Because the Doris Grant loaf is a really healthy loaf, but if you use just wholemeal flour, it'll be really, really stodgy and heavy. So the white flour just helps to lighten it a bit. 7 grams of fast-action dried yeast. The salt is one of the most important ingredients in bread. It can make the difference between a good loaf and a bad loaf. So I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of salt, just table salt's fine, and then mix it all together and then make a nice well, and I'm going to add 300 ml of water. Make sure it's warm because it helps the yeast work more quickly. I'm going to add a big tablespoon, a big squidge of honey to make it nice and sweet. You can use some brown sugar or even caster sugar just to sweeten the crumbs slightly. This is quite a sticky dough, but as I say with bread, the wetter the better. With a nice wet dough, you'll get a lovely big rise and a nice soft crumb. So it's all come together. So a little bit of flour on my hands. I'll just take it out of the bowl. The extra flour will stop the ball from sticking to my hands. I'm not going to knead it, I'm just going to bring it all together. And I fold the edges to the centre and squeeze it together and then rock it. You get a nice soft top. Flip it over, put it around like that, make it a nice ball shape. And then straight onto the tin. Don't need any flour or grease. So, now the bread needs to rise. I find the best way to do that is to get some cling film and spray it with vegetable oil. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. This is fine. And I know some people like to cover their bread with a damp tea towel, but I prefer cling film. And spraying vegetable oil on it will stop the dough from sticking to the cling film. So now the bread needs to rise, and I find the best place for this to rise is on a chair next to a preheated oven. And the technical reason for that is that I don't have an airing cupboard. After about 30 minutes, when it's almost doubled in size, take the cling film off. Slash the top of the bread with a sharp knife, or you can use a blade. And then the bread gets brushed with milk. I like to sprinkle over the bran I saved from when I sieved the flour. Throw 10 ice cubes in the bottom of the oven, and they'll produce steam. This will make sure that the bread rises before the crust sets, so you get a lovely big puffy rise. And the bread goes in an oven, heated to 200 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. Oh, my patience is rewarded. I'll leave it to cool completely in the tin, and then I'm going to serve it with baked garlic and camembert. Sometimes when I come home from work, the baked garlic with camembert is ridiculously easy to make, and it tastes divine. So what you need is 2 cloves of garlic. You don't even have to peel them. And use a really sharp knife because they're quite tough. So I'm going to put both of those into the bowl, cut side down. Rosemary, nice sprig of rosemary, cut it in half. Bung that in there. And we've got 2 bay leaves. Or put 3 in for good measure. Pinch of salt. Some black pepper, a couple of twists of black pepper. big squidge of honey. And about 40 grams of butter. And finish off with some extra virgin olive oil. A nice big drizzle. If you want to be exact, about 80 ml. Okay, and that's it, done. I'm gonna pop it in for 40 minutes at 200 degrees. Easy peasy. Get your camembert. Take it out of the box, and if there's any paper or plastic, take that off too. And sometimes there's a little sticker, so peel that off. Pop it back in its box, and just do a cross on top. And the beauty of this dish is there's not much washing up. And then chuck it in the oven for 10 minutes next to the garlic.
It smells amazing.
I know, it doesn't look great, but it tastes so good.
Why'd you put them the other way around?
So that all the flavour from the oil and the rosemary can go into the
That's nice,
cloves.
isn't
Okay, I'm going to go in. Oh my God, look at that. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.